back to Book Banter. Today we're chatting with Caitlin Moss, who is an award-winning Amazon best-selling author of 9 contemporary romance novels. A lover of romance mixed with the rawness of real life, her novels transport you into a world that feels like it could exist in the heart of the city, up the street, or maybe even inside the walls of your own house. Caitlin is a writer, turned stay-at-home mom, turned author, and currently resides in the Pacific Northwest with her husband, 3 children, and 2 golden doodles. Please welcome Caitlin to Book Banter. Hello.
Hi, Tanya.
It's good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
So I should say, first off, I am literally at 50% of the way through Goodbye Again.
Okay.
And I love it. It's
good.
It's funny.
Oh,
Even though
good.
it's really hard, like the push and pull, but it's so funny. I find myself laughing out loud at the little things. And
good. I know you're at that like 50% mark where it starts to get a little more serious, a little more dramatic. But I hope you keep laughing.
Oh, well, she just dropped her jar of sauce on the street, so
curry, covered in curry and humiliation. Yes.
I thought that was so funny. And the other thing is, I have no idea where it's going, which is not normal for me. I usually have a sense of where a book is going. Yep. And I have no clue how this is going to end. And I could be, bawling my eyes out in the end.
And that's one thing that was so fun about writing this was because I love an angsty, like push and pull romance. And this one is right person, wrong time. So over and over, they're meant to be, but they just can't get it like lined up. And so it was really fun to write, but it also like, if you are a strict romance reader, this one is going to kind of veer off the path a little bit. And so it kind of puts readers in for like a wild ride.
I like that. I like that it's not I don't want to say cookie cutter, because that is the
formula. Yeah.
The formula. Yeah. And there is a reason that I read less romance than any other genre, because it's just swapping out a lot of things in terms of people and places and situations. And people who write romance really, really well always have those tweaks that make it different, and it veers into sort of cross genres a bit.
Yeah. And I think, with romance having such a pretty typical formula from book to book, I think romance readers, they love that because it's kind of this like comfort read. You know what I mean? It's like a comfort genre that they know what they're going to get. So they enjoy reading that. And I do too. I want there to be the happily ever after, but I like to shake things up. And so I like for it to be a little more realistic. And so it's not your typical trope, where it follows this path. I like that it goes up and down because that's real life. And every love story kind of has its ebbs and flows. So
absolutely. And I think that's why I like your novels so much, because of that, because I like a good comfort read as well, but I like to learn something. I also like, I like stretch my beliefs a little and things like that. So I think it's great. So I have read sort of 2.5, 3 of your novels so far, and each one of them is unique, and every story is bound together with the thread of a love story, because it is romance, but also the reality of real life. So when you set out to write a new novel, what is your approach? What does that look like?
So every time I get an idea for a story, it always starts as a conversation in my head. The characters just start talking, and they're not telling me something. I am just eavesdropping on them, basically. And they start talking, and it starts as a scene. And if I feel the pull enough, I'll write it down. And then usually it just kind of spirals from there. And then, as I'm writing, they become real people to me. And oftentimes my readers say that they're like, this is based on a true story, right? Like, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually, this is just my imagination. My life is not that interesting. But it's really fun because I start to treat them like real people. So it kind of comes off on the pages. So that's why they always have this kind of raw, realistic take on a love story.
It really does, and I think that it's interesting that you say that, that you watch them have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a unique approach because for me, they tell me. And I've currently got a character in my head right now that is very, very forthright.
Oh, yes.
And she is laying down the law. And so
I
it's
love it. Yes.
So I'm like, I wonder if I could get my characters to like just let me watch them interact instead of.
I mean, and I definitely feel like as it evolves, I get that too, where they're like, wait, there's more. You forgot this part, or whatever. But for the most part, I'm just kind of immersing myself into these characters' story.
You're becoming friends with them so they can
hear
all the dirt.
Yes, I'm like their best friend that knows all their secrets.
That's a good thing. I love it. I think that approach is very unique. That's the first time I've heard that. So
cool.
That's cool. I love it. So out of all of your 9 novels, which is your favorite and why? I know it's like choosing a favorite child.
I know. And honestly, I feel like I could say they're all my favorite for a different reason. And part of that is because when you're creating a novel, like it represents a season in my life also. Totally. So I feel like I can I have a memory attached to each of them. But my favorite is To the Grave, and I think that's the one that is like my heart book. That's my heart and soul. It is I wrote it for my best friend, and it was just I really wanted to write a story for women in their 30s and 40s that was not so like not too whimsical or unrealistic. I wanted women to really see themselves in this book and have it just resonate with them in a way that they like want to go call their girlfriends and say I love you. Aww. And I wrote it for my best friend. It's dedicated to her, and so that's one that it's like my special heart book. And I would say, like, as far as like the other ones, the more like traditional romance ones, I think Goodbye Again is up there. And the reason is I fell in love with them. I felt like I was feeling their heartbreak every time.
Yes, that comes across.
And so I really so they're like a close runner-up, JP and Julia. I like them.
I think it's fantastic. It's interesting. I haven't read To the Grave, and I think that I have hesitated because I'm like, oh, this one's going to hurt a little.
Yeah, it's very sad. It is a very devastating story, but I think, I wrote that one for women. I think women, especially as we get older, we need other women, no matter how happily married you are or whatever, like having that core group of women that just support you and love you and kind of call you out when you are not making good choices or whatever. We need that. We need that accountability and that like love and grace. And a lot of times, I mean, as I've gotten older, I need my girlfriends more as I age. So
it's very true. And I keep seeing these little snippets on social media about how the chances of women outliving their husbands is very high. So pick your good girlfriends and stick with them.
Yep.
I think women's lives actually might transform a little bit more at the core level as they age. Because we've often done the parenting or the marriage, the parenting, we've done those seasons. We've also done the season often of standing back and letting other people shine. Right. And so as we get older, some of those things start to fall off, and we start putting our ourselves out there a little bit more comfortably, maybe. Yeah. Oh, I think that's great. Okay, To the Grave is on my list next. Then I'll be calling you with tears.
I know. I'll mail you some Kleenex. It'll be okay.
I know. Don't you? Often I say, wait, I should have bought stocks in Kleenex.
I know. I know. When I know I'm nearing the end of a book, when my office garbage can is full of tissue.
Right? Like, okay, we've been through the emotional roller coaster. Now we're good to go. We can wrap it up,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's too funny.
Exactly.
So you are a busy, busy woman. And what does a typical day in your writing life look like? I actually can't imagine because you are super busy.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know if I should say thank you. Yes, I am.
You are super busy.
So I like to let creativity drive my writing. So I have all of the drop-offs in the morning, and then I usually am able to like exercise and do my other job, and then kind of spend my afternoon writing.
Wow.
Sometimes though, what I find is when I'm forced to write, like, okay, I have to go get my kid at 2, let's say,
Right.
and I get this block, and it's like my brain won't turn on. But I actually write really well in public. And I know, like, as a romance
Really?
writer, I know I need a privacy screen. I don't know why I haven't got one yet, but I really need a privacy screen. And so I don't know if it's like the pressure or like I don't know what it is, but like when I'm sitting at my daughter's gymnastics or my son's swim practice or whatever, and I can just bust out some words and get it done during practice. And yeah, so I like to write in public. And I write in spurts too,
Yeah.
so I'll have, little scraps of paper or notes on my phone
Oh, wow.
that I will just translate into the story. So it's just, I guess I'm kind of like a sprinter when it comes to writing. You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah,
funny
I
because
do.
I'm, as far as like real life,
I
I'm
know
a
what you mean.
slow turtle. I go long distance
Yes.
when I run. But when
Yes.
I write, it's like short and sweet. And then some days I will have a day where I will write for like 6 hours straight. So into the
Okay.
night usually. I'm a night owl.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay. Okay. That's so funny. I used
mhm.
to, people used to go with, oh, I'll run with Tanya because we know she's going to keep this pace the whole way.
Yes.
There was no
Yep.
variance. It didn't matter how much speed work or hill work I did. It was always the same pace.
That's the same. Yeah. I mean, I I love that we have this like common interest of marathons and half marathons and races. But I just did my second one on Saturday, and
So exciting.
this one was super flat. The one I did last month was like a lot of hills, and
Oh,
I finished within 20 seconds of the
right?
other one. Like,
It
I'm
just
just
doesn't matter what
I just
challenge is in
have
front of
this
you.
like yes, I just have this steady pace, and I can't
Well,
change it. And honestly,
no.
I'm too old to try. So,
But the good news is that as you age as a runner,
uh-huh.
your most people's times start getting slower and yours will stay consistent.
Yes.
So your
Yep.
placing will just keep creeping up.
I mean, it's true. My pace is the same as it was in college. I just am not. I'm not fast. I am a 10-minute mile runner.
Yep.
That's all it is. Yeah, every time.
Join the club.
Yes.
It's so true. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but having that diversity through writing is fantastic to be able to write,
Yeah.
a quick sprint of here's, I find too that if you're writing those quick sprint scenes, those are like really impactful, um,
Yes.
transitional kind of
Mm-hmm.
characters that
Yeah.
had themed there.
Yeah, and they usually it's especially if I'm spending the entire sprinting time writing, it is like bursting out of me. So it's
Yeah.
usually very necessary to the story. And so I think,
Yep.
and that's usually what I try when I'm writing. Like I try to make sure whatever I am putting on the pages is actually necessary to the story. Otherwise, I mean, I've done that where I'll write something. I'm like, this is boring. I am bored writing it, and I will just delete it because
Right.
if I'm bored, readers are going to be bored. So
Exactly. You have to make every single sentence count towards the goal or the conflict in some way, and it's harder than you think.
yeah, it truly
Because
is.
you do have to kill your darlings a lot
Yeah,
of times. You're like,
a
"But I
lot of
really love
darling.
that paragraph." It doesn't matter if it doesn't serve the
Doesn't matter.
story, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I know, that's a hard one.
Mhm.
So what is the best thing you've learned as an author?
I think the best thing that I have learned Oh, there's so many things. But you know what? I think I've learned a lot about how to be confident in myself and my own creativity. Because I mean, I remember publishing my first book. I was so defeated. I thought I published it thinking only my mom and her friends were going to read it. And I was like with a very terrified click of the mouse, I just said publish. I had an ugly cover that I like made with a cell phone picture. Like it was not well thought out. I was just trying to get the story out. And thankfully, that was a story that resonated so much with women, good and bad, but it was so relatable that it within a month I had sold books in 8 countries, and I didn't
Wow.
know how to do anything. Like at that point, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And so I think it really taught me like to be confident in my own creativity and the stories that I write. And the best thing I've learned is that like women are the best. I just like men like my books too, but for the most part, I think 97% of my readers are women.
Yeah.
And it is just so fun to have these conversations with women about life, about love, about motherhood, about divorce, about infidelity,
Yeah.
like all these things that we're dealing with. And, you know, having conversations with people that live halfway around the world that are experiencing the same emotions. And so it really the coolest thing to learn is like just how like connected we are as women, no matter where we're from or how we were raised. Like there's just this like interconnectivity of like human emotion.
I love that. That's a good thing to learn. That's amazing. 8 countries. That's astounding.
I
And
know
really,
it's more now, but it was like that. Yeah, with that first book, it went a little crazy, and it wasn't like I sold tons of copies. It was just all over, and I was like, well, this is terrifying.
right? Because you feel seen.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh,
Which is
people
scary
are
at first.
gonna read this. Yeah, and it's about an affair.
Oh
Like, you know,
gosh.
people are like, is this a memoir? And I'm like, no,
It's
no.
interesting how it's, as a reader, it's sometimes hard to separate out the author who wrote the book, but
Right.
there is a separation. There
Yeah.
definitely is. And,
Yeah.
we just have a lot of imaginary friends,
A lot. A lot. Yep.
which is fantastic. And I mean, you
Yeah.
probably had imaginary friends as a kid too.
You know what?
So
I didn't. I
you
did
didn't?
not know, but I grew up in a family of 5 kids.
Oh, you probably wanted an imaginary
I
solitude.
Yeah, I didn't have time for that.
Wow.
But I will say, and I posted about this recently, but I think the people like the authors that are known for like their strong dialogue and like very like dialogue driven scenes, which mine are the people that like have arguments or make up arguments in the shower after the argument is over. And
Oh,
that is so me. I'm
yes.
not a very confrontational person. It takes a lot for me to stand up for myself, but I come up with a very good argument in the shower. Like,
Absolutely. I'm a 20 minutes after the argument's done kind of
and
gal.
another thing,
Yes. Which, it's moved on, it's settled, and I'm like, but
but my
but you know
point.
what? A long time ago, I decided that I can be right or I can be happy.
Yeah.
And I would always choose to be happy because in my own head, my own opinion is still going to be what it is unless somebody's
Right.
managed to convince me otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that the whole world needs to know what my opinion is.
Right.
Or my household. And
Very good.
it's, you can still, so I always choose happiness over being right.
Yeah.
Although,
Sometimes. Right.
yes. And it's that high road, right?
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
always fun on the high road, but
It's exhausting up there.
right. That's exactly it. Well, that's a good thing to have learned as an author. So what would be the biggest challenge you've faced then in your author career?
I mean, really just getting that thick skin. I mean, I
Oh
think
yeah.
everybody talks about it. I have I'm a type 2 Enneagram 2.
Yep.
I am a people pleaser. I want everyone to be happy,
Yeah.
and I have to learn like that I'm not going to please everybody, and that's
Nope.
okay. Not everyone is going to like my book. The best books all have bad reviews.
Yes.
But and sometimes I will go look at bad reviews just because I want to make sure it's not a like structure thing, or
Right.
you know what I mean? Because I
I
do
do.
think you can get good feedback on bad reviews. But if
Yeah.
it's like, I don't like this character, or I don't like that this happened, I'm like, well, too bad. That's
That's the character.
happens in the story. And life is like that. So are
Yeah.
stories. So I so like kind of learning how to like sift through the negativity of like, what can I take and like use to make my next book better,
Yeah.
and what do I just need to let roll off my back. And
Totally.
that's hard to learn as a people pleaser, for sure.
It absolutely is. It's also the negative reviews are oftentimes a reflection of where the reader is coming from
Mhm,
and what their life experience has been to bring them to this point when they opened the book. And it's not a criticism in terms of the reader. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it
mhm,
is, we're all on a different path and we're all at different points in those paths.
mhm,
And so sometimes a book doesn't resonate, and that's okay. And
mhm.
you know, you learn something as well that didn't resonate with you now, but you can open the same book 10 or 15 years later and you get a different story out of it.
Yeah. And the opposite's true of like, I can read a book. I've experienced that where I'm like, oh my gosh, I loved this book so much.
Yes.
And I'll open it years later and go, why did I?
Yeah. What was it?
So yeah, there's a season, for every book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not all of them
Yeah,
last forever, I guess.
exactly. And I think that, and the important thing to know as a reader is that you can always put that book down and pick it
Mhm,
up at another time. You
mhm.
are not, there's no rule that says you have to finish reading every book you pick up,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
So
Mhm,
it's your free time. You get to choose. And it's,
mhm.
it's a choose your own adventure
Exactly. Yes.
when you're reading your own, whatever you want to read, right?
Yep.
So when it comes to the romance genre,
Mhm.
it is a very competitive market.
Mhm.
So kudos to you on
Thank
being a
you.
best-selling author in the genre. That is huge.
Thank you.
You rock social media. You are so cute and hilarious, and it's inspiring and it's funny. If you want a good laugh, you need to follow Caitlin on social media because a lot of it's tongue in cheek.
Yes.
And it's so funny. You have to get it to
Yes. Yeah.
to to really appreciate it, but it is really quite funny. Do you think that your presence on social media has influenced the success of your writing career?
Absolutely. I mean, it being able to like cultivate this reader relationship online, and it makes it so personal too. Whole journey
Yeah.
of like, if you um have read my books and then you read the next one, and then you kind of just see little pieces maybe of me in the books. And I think like social media is such a great way to not only connect with other people, but it's free advertising.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
I have been very lucky to mostly be on the good side of the internet. Like my little tiny corner is a happy place.
Yeah.
Only sometimes we get on the wrong side of the internet, and that's not a very fun experience.
Oh,
But for the most part, no, I just feel like it is a great way for readers to connect with me, but me to connect with my readers. I love getting feedback from readers that are like, I just finished, Yours to Love, which like I can't is not one of my more popular books, and it came out a couple years ago. I hardly do any advertising for it, but they're like, oh, I just read it and it's my favorite of yours. And so it gives me this little like
oh,
boost, just this little like pat on the back of like, even though that's not my bestseller, I didn't win any awards
yeah.
for that one, just to know that like a reader really resonated with it that's what keeps you going. It's not the awards and it's not the sales. It's knowing that my
Yeah.
books are reaching the right people. And so that's why I just keep going. Just
That
trucking
makes
along.
complete sense. Absolutely. And you're right. And social media is an opportunity to engage.
Yes.
It's hopefully positively.
Yeah.
But it's an invitation to a conversation, and you do it so well. I mean, it's just so funny. Most of my responses are emojis laughing because I have nothing better to say than to just be saying I am laughing.
I'm a goof. My husband, he always says, like, he's like, you're not like funny, you're like Shaquille O'Neal funny. And like,
what does that mean?
it's so hard to describe. It's like, if you get it, you get it, where it's just like random humor. Like, it's just like, I don't have the timing necessarily or anything like that. I'm just kind of random. And so whenever I post a video, he'll be like, Shaquille O'Neal.
Really? That's hilarious. Okay, because I completely think it's hilarious. So
So good.
hitting an audience of some sort might only be my sense of humor.
Well, maybe Shaquille O'Neal humor is your brand of humor.
I'm gonna have to go look and see what he says that's funny, because I don't think I've ever seen him be funny.
Yeah, but he's kind of dry. He's kind of sarcastic. He's just it's fun.
Yes, I would say sarcasm is probably my go-to for
Mm-hmm.
the day. I will always remember the day that our son understood sarcasm for the first time, and I'm like, yes, parenting win.
I know, and I have some very sarcastic kids, and it's actually awesome because they know how to use their sarcasm correctly.
Yes.
And so it's fun. It's super fun.
Well, sarcasm is such a great way it can be an icebreaker,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also transition a conversation. So it has a lot of tools, and sign of intelligence is wit.
Yep.
Wit and humor, right? So yeah, I absolutely sarcasm for the win.
Yes.
So, what is your favorite part of the writing process? So, is it that first spark of idea, or you don't really outline much. You outline in your head, so that could be enjoyable.
So my favorite part is the writing part. I do usually, as I get towards the end, I do have like a timeline to make sure that like everything is getting, all the doors that need closing are getting closed, everything's getting put away, so I will outline after the fact a little bit, but it's like a very
checklist.
More of like a checklist, I guess, and a timeline. But I just love the writing part because it's my first time getting to know the characters. I don't know what color their eyes are. I don't know what color their hair is. I don't know their backstory until I start writing. And as I'm writing it, I'm going, oh my gosh, I love this person and I love them. And so it's just like reading a book for the first time is how I write. So I love that part of
the
it.
Discovery. The discovery part. I completely understand what you're saying. That makes sense. That makes complete sense. Yeah. Because I don't mind, like, I like editing.
You like editing?
Editing.
Okay.
Yeah, like rewriting, I guess, more than editing. Yeah. I don't give me grammar and spelling.
No, I know what you mean.
But the rewriting and making something stronger, and that's usually where the story really melds, but it is the initial spark. It's the wish, the dream of the story that usually gets me, motivates me to sit in the chair for hours on end.
And I can second too, like what you're saying about editing. Like I would still say writing is my most favorite, but I get what you mean, where it's like then when you go back and edit, it's like cleaning a really dirty bathroom. You know what I mean? And then it's like you finally, and it smells good and it's clean, and then it just, like, a clean house makes me happy. Like just always. And so I think of editing that way. It's just kind of like scrubbing the floors,
Exactly. and then nobody's coming into it yet.
Yes. Yes. Nobody touch anything.
Yeah. Exactly. That is exactly what it's like. Good analogy. I like that. So do you read different things when you're in different parts of the writing process, or what do you enjoy reading? That are you strictly romance or you adventure?
Um, so I'll read just about anything. I mostly read romance and thrillers. I love a thriller.
Fast paced.
Yeah, and I love historical fiction. If it's done well, like
Yeah.
you know,
Well, thank you.
it's one of those. Historical fiction tends to be hit or miss for me, but I do enjoy it when I get my hands on something really worth reading. But yeah, I'm a thriller romance. I want to like be in love or be murdered, like
Right? Yeah. But I think it's the pacing, because both genres have almost parallel pacings in a very different way.
They're binge reads, like page turner, yes.
Yeah. And you're immersed in it for the time that you're reading it. And you don't let it go. You think about it as you're, cleaning the bathroom and doing other things. Like it stays with you that way. Yeah, I totally, I tend to do the same thing. I read legal thrillers if I'm in writing mode, I read legal thrillers because I don't want any inadvertent cross-contamination. So because historical, it could blend a little bit more than by accident just because you're reading. So I won't read the same era of historical that I'm writing as well.
So, yeah, that's smart. I get that.
Yeah,
that totally
self-preservation. Really. Yeah. That makes sense. So I've been thinking about this actually as the year winds down. Do you select a best book of the year? And have you chosen one for 2024 yet?
Oof. See, I am such a book lover that like it's really hard for me to pick even my favorite for the year. Yeah. I used to do like a top 10, but
so hard.
And I'm also like, but genre, and people are like, what's your favorite? I'm like, well, what genre? I would say, like, speaking of thrillers, I just read We Used to Live Here. I think it's by Marcus Kuehler. That could be wrong. We Used to Live Here. It was the book that, like, if, you and read the page to make sure you got all of the information, because there's just so many pieces to it. There was a horror element, there was like a haunting kind of element, and then like a psychological. I loved it. Like I was scared, like, and it takes a lot to actually like scare me. I love all of that, and I was like spooked, and it really excellent. Yes, very well done. That's probably like my top thriller of the year. And then romance, like, I mean, I love Abby Jimenez, and Just for the Summer was such a beautiful read. But I would say my favorite romance of the year was Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I think it's Bonham Young is how you say it.
I haven't read that one.
She's new to me. She's indie, and I think she recently got picked up. And it's funny and just like heartwarming too. Like, the emoji with like the big eyes. Like that is her books in an emoji. Like it was just
that's a good idea.
Book, but also hysterical. Like you're in the middle of like it's like an intimacy scene, and I'm dying laughing because of something that they say. That's
real life.
And she also, I mean, it's one of the most hated tropes is a surprise pregnancy, and yet that is what it is. And you know that from the beginning. So no spoilers, but like it's a surprise pregnancy, which I don't mind. I love all the tropes.
That's part of real life too.
Very realistic. And she just did it so well that it was like you really do believe that these two people that had a one-night stand fall in love with each other. And so yeah, I'm excited to explore more of her backlist, and she has a few new things out too. So that would be my romance of the year. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. Have you read Listen for the Lie?
Yes. It's the one with the red cover, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
She
Yeah,
has that like voice that talks to her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really
Oh,
enjoyed that one. That was a good one.
that was a very good one.
I think I did that one on audio,
Me too.
which is perfect because it's a podcast, right? And I was doing it while I was
So well
I was
done.
actually putting this wallpaper up. I was
Nice wallpaper.
yes, I was like, oh my gosh, I loved that one. That was an excellent read.
It was really, I did the audio too. And I think that like the podcast setup, it was made for audio. Just, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. That was,
excellent.
it was so good. So what are you working on now? Or can you tell us? And the reader
Well,
section.
I'll be very vague because
Okay.
I don't like to speak of books until they're
That
finished.
totally.
Because I'm so sporadic too. I have dropped a book that I wrote 50,000 words on before, and it's still there. Like I still have it, and I had another idea, got pulled away, and I haven't been able to return to it since, and that's okay. Maybe I will one day. But I will say I have two books that will be coming out next year.
Ooh.
One is a sequel to one of my books. I'm not going to say which one. It is a sequel that follows I would say an almost forgotten character that people wanted a little bit more of. And then I have another one that is going to, it's a loathe to love with like a paranormal element. And it's funny though. So it's like dark humor. Don't think spooky paranormal.
Okay.
Funny ghost. So
funny. I love funny ghosts.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
Yeah. So, and that's been like a fun, really fun read. That will
Yeah.
probably, be next fall. It'll be a fun, like cozy.
Totally. Good timing. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Funny ghosts are the best.
I know it's been really fun. Yeah.
They're the best to write, aren't they? They're just like, yeah.
They're hilarious.
They have no filters. So
No.
the
And no boundaries. That's
exactly.
No boundaries. They're like, get out of the house. Yeah.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
so good. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you chatting with us today. That was really nice. So Goodbye Again has just been released in the last few months. So I would definitely check that out. It's a little spicy, just as a heads up, but not so much so that you won't enjoy it. So that didn't sound right. But
no, it's spicy, but it's still a plot-driven novel. So if you're going in there for the spice only, you're going to be disappointed.
Yes.
But if you're going in there for the plot, it's just going to be a fun addition. That's
and the characters are lovable. They're instantly lovable. So you will love it.
I mean, a child therapist and a kindergarten teacher. What's not to love?
Exactly. They're made for each other.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
And everybody grab Goodbye Again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.